Now on 4, on your bike, for the Tour de France.
The 171 survivors of the Tour de France baked beneath the hottest sun so far yesterday, but Miguel Indurain didn't melt and continues towards the Alps in yellow. Hello and welcome, it's day 17 of the Tour de France and we're now in the town of Alès where the race finished here yesterday. The sun already high in the sky, it threatens to be another scorcher and we're now heading off towards the shadow of the Alps in Gap. The overall situation this morning is very familiar, it hasn't changed for 2 days now. Miguel Indurain on top, 3 minutes ahead of Charlie Motte. In third place Gianni Bugno, fourth Claudio Chiappucci, fifth Greg LeMond and sixth Laurent Fignon. Well, although the Spaniard leads this Tour de France now, everybody still talks about Greg LeMond, the rider who lost his yellow jersey in the Pyrenees, because apparently Greg LeMond is now ill and very tired. Yesterday, certainly, he rode along at the back of the pack. He says he now has a blood condition caused by an infected foot. He also is not sleeping well in the very hot hotel bedrooms at night. He is coming to the start every day seemingly more tired than the previous day. Now, the question is, with the Alps only 1 day away, can Greg LeMond even reach them? Never mind take the lead again in this year's Tour de France. It was also a day of crashes yesterday, and the worst crash certainly happened to Sean Yates when he collided with Phil Anderson, among others. Yates had a brake lever puncture his arm, and an artery was burst. The medical team of the Tour de France were up there pretty quickly. They patched him up, and in true Yates style, he got back on his bike, caught the peloton, and finished safely in the pack. He said last night he was feeling okay, so we expect him to sign on this morning. Well, there were 2 winners yesterday in the Tour de France, not only the brilliant ride by Moreno Argentin, but the very good selection by our winner of our quiz, Lucy Debenham from Wetherby in Yorkshire. Well done, Lucy. The yellow jersey of Miguel Indurain is on its way to you at the end of the Tour, and it will also be signed by yesterday's winner, Moreno Argentin. And to back it up, a signing on sheet from the Tour de France, which will have all of the signatures of the Tour riders on it, except that of Stephen Roach. I'm afraid he left the Tour too quick for us. Well, the Ariosto team had their second win of the Tour in 2 days yesterday, and behind every stage winner there is always a strong team. Here's Paul Sherwin to explain their role.
Whilst Moreno Argentin was leading the race alone on the road to Alès, his teammates were not sitting idle in the main field. Every time there was a chasing group behind him, there was at least 1 or 2 so-called policemen with it. They are known as policemen because they're there to marshal operations, like Lieti and Goltz here, who will remain in the slipstream of the 2 others to act as a psychological anchor, or when the occasion arises, pretend to move to the front, then cut their effort, breaking the rhythm of the chasers. When there isn't a breakaway, the whole team will mass at the front to discourage any organised chase, or join any other breakaway attempts, as yet again Lieti does when he jumps into the slipstream of Jelle Neidem, never once contributing to the effort of Neidem's chase, but slowing him down whenever possible. All these small operations discouraged every chase possible, and gave Moreno Argentin the extra little help he needed to solo to Ariosto's second victory in 2 days.
And here's the route today, the 16th stage from Alès to Gap and into the base of the Pyrenees. It's 215 kilometres, that's 134 miles. Just one small climb in the middle, but it goes steadily uphill now, away from Alès and up towards the Alps. And I'm afraid Sean Yates did not sign on this morning. He apparently sent a message to his team manager, Jim Okowitz, that he's going to hospital to have his arm investigated, but he was expecting to be at the team hotel by the end of the day. Miguel Indurain, happy under the pressure of wearing the leader's yellow jersey, and I honestly feel he hasn't faced any pressure since taking the lead in the Pyrenees. He's always looked well into control. Greg LeMond, I'm afraid, is certainly not happy. There's really a big query on his future in this year's Tour de France, because every day he complains now of feeling more and more tired. There was no action at all for the first 4 hours of racing today. The riders just about reaching 32 kilometres an hour, that's 20 miles an hour, and the first attack came on the Côte de Saint-André, 149 kilometres into the race, and Thierry Claverola wearing a chapeau, a French hat here, as he goes over the top of the climb. In second place was Claudio Chiappucci, 7 seconds behind him, and he was alongside the Spaniard Leonés Berrutia. But the attack there by Claverola has been consolidated. We're now with the race here, and there's a lead group and 1 or 2 surprise names in it.
Well, surprise names, definitely Claudio Chiappucci never misses an opportunity to try and break away. He's there already. But also Laurent Fignon, Stephen Rooks, who we've not seen very much of so far, Gert-Jan Teunissen, Gianni Bugno is in there, Fabrice Philippot from the Banesto squad is there just to make sure that there's no success to this breakaway. Thierry Claverola, the man who started that breakaway, Tibaldi and Dominguez. So a very good group, but the main field being led along at the moment by the Banesto riders under the control of Miguel Indurain.
Well, an interesting move indeed, especially on the eve of the big Alpine crossing to Alpe d'Huez. Claudio Chiappucci, who, as you know, he and Greg LeMond have been at loggerheads since last year's Tour de France. Well, today it's reported they've made friends. And so Chiappucci, still being the inconsistent attacker he is, he doesn't seem to plan anything. He takes his chance. There he is now in the group. This is Gianni Bugno, the champion of Italy. Remember, 3 minutes 10 seconds down on the leader Miguel Indurain. And now, for the first time since Indurain took his lead in the Tour, there he is now in the yellow jersey. He is having to counter the action, and it might be a little bit of a surprise, this attack today.
It will be a surprise because it's not the day that everybody expected the attack. I'm not surprised to see Chiappucci attacking, but I am surprised to see Gianni Bugno and Laurent Fignon in there as well. That's a very dangerous move. There is LeMond very near the front of the peloton, so maybe he's not too bad today after all the rumours we've heard that he may not start. He may not start tomorrow because of this blood disorder. But Banesto are there at the front, not panicking too much. Strange to see Pedro Delgado at the front there doing all the work. He's in a different role than we've seen him in the past. He's now the worker as opposed to the leader.
So the yellow jersey in third place while his teammates do the chasing. Greg LeMond has made a bicycle change twice today, so his troubles do seem to continue, don't they? Incidentally, 1 or 2 of you have telephoned in and left messages as to what has happened to the driver of the car that hit LeMond on the climbs in the Pyrenees. The answer is nothing at all. He was the team car of Gatorade, and the driver tried to get through to Bugno. It wasn't an intentional collision. They do happen in the Tour de France, but in the favour of the driver, as soon as he crossed the line, he went straight over and apologised to Greg LeMond for the incident. And by the way, Greg LeMond is expected to ride in Britain the week after the Tour de France. He is scheduled to ride in the Wincanton Classic, the next round in the World Cup, which is down in Brighton, the Sunday after the Tour de France finishes in Paris. And that's a full day of racing. It should last all of the day, and it takes in the famous climb of Ditchling Beacon. So let's hope you can find time to go to Brighton. Now back to the Tour de France, and it's good to see the riders, despite the heat today, and it gets hotter and hotter down this part of the world, are really attacking the course. The crowd's enormous now, and this is the hors d'oeuvre to the Alps tomorrow. And when we go to Alpe d'Huez, Paul and I feel we are going to see the biggest crowds this Tour has ever seen.
Definitely, they've been building up ever since we came across from the Pyrenees. The Dutch people are starting to infiltrate the crowds there. We didn't see too many Dutch down there in the south, but as we get nearer to their Mecca, the Alpe d'Huez, they're really starting to pour in.
Well, the 2 riders in the breakaway today, Stephen Rooks has happy memories as we race into the base of the Alps today, because the day after Gap 2 years ago, when Jelle Nijdam was the winner here, then Stephen Rooks went on to win the time trial to Orsières-Malette. And of course, Gert-Jan Teunissen had his moment of glory on Alpe d'Huez. Well, that's the situation at the moment. After the break, we'll bring you right up to date with Gert-Jan Teunissen. We'll take a break.
Tomorrow the race heads out from Gap, 125 kilometres to Alpe d'Huez. Now, if there's any mountain on the Tour route that the Dutch have made their own, it's this one. And if there's one Dutchman who wants to win there more than anyone else, it's Gert-Jan Teunissen. Even by the standards of professional cycling, Teunissen is intense, and in full flow with his wild race face on, he rides like a man possessed. He inspires an equally fanatical following. His fans were there when he claimed Alpe d'Huez on his way to the King of the Mountains jersey in 1989. And they still turned out last year when he was the Tour's most notable absentee. The reason was his third positive drugs test in 2 years, and despite his claims of innocence, he was banned for 12 months. That meant more time at home with his wife Liska, but not much. In the past year, he cycled over 12,000 kilometres. In May, he set up a training camp in the heat of the Canaries with Stephen Rokes, and he's also climbed 200 mountains, including Alpe d'Huez in 42 minutes, 2 less than the record.
Yeah, every day was you were training and training for nothing, and that was a long time, and a year is a very long time that you must train.
After his ban was lifted 5 weeks ago, Geert-Jan's form had been good up until the Tour. In the Pyrenees, he lost 14 minutes on the stage to Val Thorens alone, but there's always Alpe d'Huez.
Yeah, I've trained him a lot, and I hope that I will be good there.
Well, Gary, there's Geert-Jan Teunis, third on the left of our picture in the breakaway, but we've witnessed a marvellous race today, and the riders trying to steal a march over Miguel Indurain are Claudio Chiappucci and Laurent Fignon and Gianni Bugno. At one stage, they had taken back a minute off their deficit, but right now there is a tremendous fight back, and they are riding just about 15 seconds behind.
Terrible mistake by Miguel Indurain there, because this break wasn't really a major attack. It went over the third category climb, just a little bit further down the course there. A little bit of a moment inattention, and the break formed. And what a break it was, and it's been a real chase for Indurain to try and get back into contention. It was up around a minute, and I think he was very lucky to have some friends amongst one or two of the other Spanish teams there.
Well, the amazing thing is, Paul, that he didn't look as strong as we all thought he would have done. He's really had to work hard to bring this back.
In fact, Pedro Delgado is one of the riders who had to do a lot of work for him to pull this back together.
And there you can see the chase now. In fact, only in the last 10 kilometres that the Banestos have received considerable help from the Spanish Amaya team, and in particular the two French riders on that team, Ronan Pensek and Patrice Esnault. And it was only when the two boys in the pink jersey, I think you can see them now on the front of this chase group, came to the front to drive the bunch behind, did the gap come down. The Banesto team seemed unable to cope with this attack today, and I'm quite sure that Gianni Bugno and Laurent Fignon and Claudio Chiappucci will feel that this attack today may not have worked, but it's proved something, and that is the Banestos aren't as strong as we think.
Well, definitely not. I think they were caught unawares, though, because this break went on the climb and the chase went straight away and split the main field. One rider missing from this group with Miguel Indurain there is Jean-François Bernard, who would have been a big help, and Dominique Arnaud, who would normally, under the same situation, have been there. But now you can see the whole field coming back together. But that must have been quite a fright for Miguel Indurain.
So the leaders surrender to the chase after 25 miles, 40 kilometres. The race is together again, and now it might be a day of the sprinters, but let's see. And now we are about 11 kilometres from the line, and we're looking at Greg LeMond. Can you believe this? The rider has launched an attack on the run into Gap with the mountains of the Alps rather right on his shoulder here, where he faces the climb to Alpe d'Huez tomorrow. Greg LeMond has now gone out on the attack, and this, Paul, will go down as one of the cheeky moves of this year's Tour de France.
Well, definitely. It's got to be good for his morale, though. His doctor said this morning that if he could get through these 2 days when he's had a problem with this blood disorder, he may well be competitive again for the Alps. After rumours were rife this morning that he might not even start, this is incredible.
Well, the breakaway came about when Phil Anderson went clear. He was joined by a number of riders, including two of the Austria riders, Cassani and Lietti. Then Jean-Claude Colotti, Fondriest of Italy, Chozas, Vichot and De Vries. And Greg came up with them. And as soon as he got there, he did about one turn at the front, and he jumped away on his own. And the gap is round about 13 seconds to the main field. The main field, by the way, is the yellow jersey group, and it is only about 35 riders strong. The green jersey, worn of course by the sprinter Abdu Japarov, which is in the main part of the race today, is now more than 5 minutes behind because of the action over these last few kilometres. And Greg LeMond now speeding on down towards Gap. There is the remnants of the chase group behind him. And this looks like it's David Cassani. No, it's Lietti who's come across, and he's joining Greg LeMond, and that's a strong rider to go with him.
Well, Lietti's ridden superbly over the last few days, and he's joined LeMond here. But this has got to be very good for LeMond's morale after all the hard days he's had the last couple of days, to try and put him back into some frame of mind to be able to